Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I got a story and an interesting item that's knife related, of course. This is an antique strop, roughly late 1800s, 1890s, something like that. Haven't done a lot of research on it, just some basic stuff. But it's a very interesting strop. You can see it's housed in a cardboard box. Has some information on the box. Kind of hard to see just because it's beat up and old. All right, but you can see here it says cushion belt, and some of the other information is a little bit hard to pick up on camera here, but yeah, this is just the cardboard case for it, storage case, and this is a double-sided padded strop. All right, so there's actual padding underneath the leather, double-sided. This side is a little bit more abrasive. It is leather on both sides, but this side is quite smooth, and obviously it's had lots and lots of wear from back in the day. So you can see the logo on the handle here. All right, J.R. Torrey, which was located in Worcester, Massachusetts. And there's a patent number on here. So pretty interesting old strop. Now, more than likely this was used for straight razors, and that's exactly why I got this. Of course, I can use this for pocket knives or pretty much whatever I want. It is just a strop. It's going to perform that properly. However, I'm going to save this and use this for my straight razors. I do occasionally use a straight razor for shaving. Definitely takes patience. You know, I can successfully get a really nice shave with one. Just takes a lot more time. I mean, for me, the whole process is like about a half an hour to 45 minutes. More times than not, I prefer using a safety razor when I shave. Still kind of old school. Definitely has a vintage feel to it. And you get an awesome shave with a double-edged razor blade. You know, but obviously there's times where I'll use, you know, some kind of modern razor if I just need a quick shave. But anyway, that's what this is going to be used for. I ended up buying this for $10. But now I'm just going to tell the story of where I was when I got it and why I was there. So I'm kind of backing up a little bit in history here. I got this from the Harford County Fair. The reason that me and my family go to the Harford County Fair every single year is just kind of become a tradition. Back when I was, let's see, my sister, I usually date things by how old my sister was because we have 9 years apart from each other. So my sister was probably like 7 or 8 years old the first time I went. So I was maybe, I don't know, 16, 17 years old, somewhere in and around there. And my grandfather and his girlfriend at the time invited us to go to their local county fair, which was the Hartford Fair. And yeah, so we went up there, we enjoyed it. It was, I think, a Saturday night, and it was packed. I mean, they have it all week long, but the weekend is when they really have the cool events and stuff. They had a monster truck show, and they had a demolition derby. Now, I said it like that because that's where my story goes. Obviously, did the whole fair, you know, had the junky food, walked around, did some rides and stuff, had a blast. But towards the end of the night, when it was nice and dark out and all the lights were on and stuff, they had the big demolition derby. There's all amateur people. A lot of people, you know, from the area would bring cars, junky cars, and just make a tradition to enter and see who can win. So there's probably, I don't know, 5,000 people in the stands. And halfway through the show, 2 cars smacked into each other, and a piece of debris, a piece of metal, I'm assuming, because to this day I don't really know, could have been a rock or something from the arena, shot up into the audience, into the bleachers, and hit me in the mouth. That's right. How lucky am I? Straight in the mouth. Now, I believe I've told this story before, but if you're newer, you probably never heard it. Right in front of it, and it was just me and my father, by the way. My grandfather and his girlfriend and my sister and my mom, they were out doing other things. It was just me and my dad that were interested in the demolition derby, so we're the only ones sitting in the stands. And we were probably like 10 or 15 rows up. So we weren't like right in front or something. We were towards the back of it, very high off the ground. And the bleachers were just open underneath. All right, so whatever hit me in the face, I'm assuming it was a chunk of metal, but regardless of whatever it is, it fell down into the bleachers immediately. So I have no idea what it was that actually hit me. Anyway, sitting right in front of me was a younger family, and they had a baby with them, which probably wasn't appropriate for a demolition derby just because it was so loud. However, obviously there was no expectations of things, you know, shooting into the grandstands. But you know, for years and years, we always, every time this story came up, we always talked about how that little baby was literally right in front of me. So I don't know, a foot down, it would have killed the baby. So maybe it was just meant to be that I got hit. But either way, my dad and I are watching the show, and all of a sudden my head jerked back. He looked at me, I looked at him, and my tooth was sticking through my lip, and blood was just gushing out of my face. My dad was in shock. He had no idea what happened. I mean, when there's something like this happens, you just turn to someone and then they're just bleeding. You don't automatically think of what could have happened. He's just like, oh my God. So he grabbed my arm. We walked out into the center aisle, walked up and then back down the stairs. So we're outside behind the grandstands, and he's like, what happened? What are you okay? What's going on? And my face is just swelling up. All right, my tooth is sticking through my lip, and I'm numb. Like, it hurt. I remember it hurting pretty bad, but I was more in shock. I think the adrenaline pumping kind of counteracted some of that pain. And he just immediately went to one of the food vendors, with all the fried crap, and just got like a massive handful of napkins. He emptied the whole little napkin holder that was on the cart, and just immediately started just putting it on my face and putting them in my hand and putting my hand in my face to try to stop this bleeding. And at this point, he really still has no idea what's going on. So in this county fair, of course, they have a little medics building. It's a very, very small little hut, essentially, with like, one or two paramedics. And went over there, and immediately, this is before we had cell phones. My father might have had a cell phone, but it's not like it was very common. So like he literally had to leave me at this medic station while they're looking at me and examining it, and trying to stop the bleeding while he's running around the fair trying to find, the rest of the family. So after running around for 20 or 30 minutes, he finally found the rest of the family and rushed them back. And of course, now they're all together and talked to the paramedics. At this point, after this time has elapsed, it was assumed that something flew off a car and hit me, and that's why this happened. So my mother was talking to the paramedics about, what could be done, and they were kind of examining me, and it was mostly just my lip was just tore open completely. So they knew I needed stitches. They didn't know if I needed any dental work. My tooth felt relatively, strong behind there. Maybe there was a tiny bit of give to it, but it's not like it was gonna fall out. It wasn't broken or anything. It just basically pushed my lip back through my tooth, which is pretty gnarly. So the nearest hospital from where the fair was like 25 minutes or something. But after talking about it with the paramedics, it's not life-threatening. My mom wanted to take me to the hospital that we were normally going to back in Jersey, because at this point I was still living in New Jersey and this fair is in Pennsylvania. So that ride is more like an hour and a half. So my mother and father debated back and forth for a little bit about it, and then ultimately decided that, as far as a scar goes and the professionalism, I guess, they weren't that comfortable with going to whatever hospital was. So I remember packing it in and having a long car ride just to get to the hospital, and obviously, getting stitches and stuff. Overall, they did a really good job. I do remember it hurting when they stuck me with the Novocaine. That part hurt, and then obviously after you wait a little bit and it's numb, it's basically just pressure. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you that is because going to the Hartford Fair was a tradition, and it's something we didn't do for I think a few years. I don't recall going back for at least like 5 or 6 years. But later, after like my grandfather passed away and stuff, and my parents moved to Pennsylvania, we just, out of the blue, we just decided to go back, and we made it a yearly tradition, and we've been going for probably the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years or something. So it's something I very much look forward to, this time of year. It's nice and warm, and of course, who doesn't like a nice county fair? Now, besides the pigs and the cows and the sheep and all the regular stuff you would expect to see at a county fair, they had an exhibit, and we got to see some Bengal tigers, which is really, really cool. And actually, this is the first year we went, they had a little a butterfly pavilion, and that was an interesting treat. Going with my sister and my nephew and niece, it's always fun too, because you get to see the kids have fun on the rides, and you kind of get to enjoy the entire thing, because there's quite an age gap. So the little kids go on the little rides, and then the adults do the bigger stuff, and it's just really fun. It's something I look forward to every year. Now, how this all ties together is I obviously got this at the fair. There are some vendors that sell, it's kind of like garage sale stuff, but they're very few. I remember way back in the day when I went with my grandfather, there was just a lot more regular people selling stuff. And these days it's a lot more commercial. Like, you walk past the place and it's like natural gas or something, some other, construction exhibit or something. Oh yeah, we do patios. Like, I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff. So anyway, we were all headed towards one of the barnyards. They have be a farmer for a day for kids, which is really cool. They have it all set up so the kids can go and like, milk a fake cow and, feed chickens and all that kind of stuff. But on the way, I was passing one of these vendors, and it looked like a garage sale. It had a bunch of trinkets for your house and different decorations and such. But I told everyone, go ahead, you know, because they know I like looking at stuff like this, and they had no interest. So I kind of fell back and was looking at this stuff, didn't see anything interesting at all, until I looked underneath the table. They had a glass display box, and it had 3 or 4 strops and 2, I think there was 2 or maybe 3 straight razors. Now the straight razors were in pretty rough condition. They weren't anything special, so I passed on those. The other 2 strops, actually there was a second strop from the same company that had, it was like a box style, but the handle was missing. So I passed up on it. Thinking about it now, I probably should have got it because it's still very functional. I could have made my own handle and screwed it in there. It's actually a much more interesting strop than this one. This is a very traditional, you know, like I said, double-sided paddle style strop. This one was like a narrow box, and they had 4 different, you know, grits around it, which is just, I don't know, it's fascinating. Anyway, a little regret there not getting that. But I ended up seeing this this case, and I asked the girl, there was 2 girls there, and I think a guy helping someone else, and they totally forgot that it was even under there. They put it under out of the way so that kids wouldn't, you know, open it and play with the knives. So they totally forgot it was even there. I asked if I can take it. Oh yeah, sure, you know, take a look, see what you like. So I took the case up, was looking through them, and as I just you know, described, opened this up, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that it wasn't no major tears or rips or anything like that. Okay, a lot of times when you find these old ones, they might be looking intact, but there's cuts, you know, and gouges and stuff in the surface, so then they're not very usable. This one, like I said, was in pretty darn good condition, and they were asking $10 for it. So I didn't even decide bargaining. I just took it out the case. I said, I want this, I'll give you $10, and that was that. Now, if you're interested in something like this, they're not that expensive. You could find stuff like this on eBay for 20 or 30 bucks, right? So they're readily available, all different companies from all different eras, but it's a very, very functional tool for maintaining your edge. Now, in the case of a straight razor, it's obviously pivotal. You have to have this to maintain a straight razor, but of course, if you're just looking to keep your pocket knife sharp, something like this would certainly help. It's just kind of cool that this is probably, I don't know for sure, but it's probably over 100 years old. And 100 years later, I'm going to use it for the exact purpose that it was created for. Now, totally unrelated to this, but I am very proud of it. I did win my niece a giant stuffed animal because I took the big old long basketball shot. I am not great at basketball at all, but that's a game that I definitely wanted to try. I was watching one of those YouTube videos that kind of breaks down Carnival games, you know, and why they're so hard to win. And in some cases, they're impossible to win because they're rigged. But more cases than not, there's just little tips and tricks that they do to make it very hard to win things. And even if you do win, you know, let's say you pay $3 for a shot or something, you're winning a stuffed animal that probably costs 50 cents. Even if it's 10 feet tall, it doesn't make a difference. Long story short, it's the really long basketball shot. It's supposed to be like a 3-point shot, but from watching YouTube videos about it, apparently they're just a little bit higher and a little bit longer, and the basket rim is just like a hair smaller too. And usually the basketballs are overinflated, which in this case it certainly was. So you have to have a perfect shot. You can't bank it off the back or anything like that. If it starts bouncing, you're just not going to make it. So I paid $5 for 3 shots. My first shot was like an air ball. My second shot hit the rim and bounced off. I really focused. The third shot just swish. And honestly, I was pretty shocked. And the vendor that was there, the fair was open 2 days, I think. Oh no, it was open 1 day before. And I was the first person to win. So I'm very proud of that. That's why I'm sharing with you guys. Anyway, I'll leave you guys with this question. Write down in the comment section below, have you ever won a Carnival game that was just really, really hard? I'll tell you another quick story, the very, you know, Cliff Notes version of it. And if you're young, you probably know what Cliff Notes is. But anyway, way back in the day, I was at Great Adventure. And it was the first day we went with my family. It was like 10 minutes walking into the park. My dad did the bottle toss, the ring toss, you know, so it's a bunch of beer bottles, and you have to throw the rings, and that's blind luck. There's no skill involved there, you just have to get lucky, and my dad did. And we won a 6-foot stuffed animal bear the second we got to Great Adventure, and he had to carry that all around the park all day. And I believe I had that for a couple weeks. I was very little, I was probably 4 or 5 or something. But I think I had that for a couple weeks, and then I pulled the eyeball out when I was home, you know, the little plastic eyeball that was on it, and all the stuffing came out and stuff. But yeah, let me know if there's like a game you've always tried to win but just can't. For me, it is definitely 100% the air gun where you have to shoot out the star. I was a young boy, and now I'm an older boy, and I always liked guns, and I always will. So that was, of course, the game I always gravitated towards. And it's just, I guess it depends on where you're playing it. Some places, there's not enough BBs to do it. I think the strategy is to shoot around the star, because once you shoot the middle of the star, there's not enough force to rip the paper anymore. So that's why most people don't get it. But I've tried a million times, and it's kind of an ongoing joke with me and my dad how it's rigged and there's just no way to win. But yeah, that's the game I've always wanted to win and just can't. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.